Welcome to the other Mike and Mike show where shoulder dipping is mandatory.
The shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips. The shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dip.
Listen to me, Mike. Your self-esteem is low right now.
The shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips.
You know how stupid that sounds?
The shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips, the shoulder dips.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Well, if you ain't paying, we ain't playing, baby. Oh, if you ain't paying, we ain't playing, gal. Oh, no. Well.
So here we are, a little special edition this week. We're sorry about last week, the mix-up. But we're here with comedian Kevin Bartini. Thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you guys for having me on, man.
I'm telling you, you're like the only guy. We've had so many guys on, and I do another show, an MMA show. You sound the most crisp and clean of anybody I've ever heard.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Probably helps that I just woke up 10 minutes ago.
I'm just saying your connection sounds clean. I think everybody else we talk to has just like TRS 80s or something.
Oh, I don't know. Do they not do it over Skype? I've had no troubles with Skype. It's great.
Yeah, we've had guys do Skype, and the phone obviously is sketchy. But when guys are on Skype, I don't know what happens sometimes. But you,
I don't know. I've experienced that too, where Skype, can be a little crappier, especially if somebody's doing it Skype over their phone. That technology's not there yet, but Skype over the computer, I've really not had any problems with it.
I've tried that a few times. It's a disaster.
Yeah,
Skype
cool.
on the phone is a disaster.
Yeah.
So the folks out there that are new to Kevin is a stand-up comedian. You also warm up the crowd for Daily Show. Is that right?
Yeah, a number of shows, but Daily Show used to do Colbert, and now I'll be doing some at the Nightly Show as well.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, I just did one on Thursday. We did a warm-up show. They start Monday, so did a warm-up on Thursday that I warmed them up for.
And how do you get into that? I mean, is it hard to get into? Because I've been to a couple tapings of shows, and so I've been to a couple shows. I went to Conan, and the warm-up was better than the show itself. No offense to Conan, but
yeah, it is not an easy job to get. You have to have, first of all, a specific skill set that not everybody has. Certainly not everybody, but not even every stand-up comic has. It's a mix of, you have to have improv skills, which I studied at the UCB, and I also did a lot of work like being the host of comedy shows for years here in New York, which is a skill to be the host is something I picked up. Kind of, I would model the way I did it based on the way Letterman and Conan and Jay Leno did, with the eye of welcoming the audience at the beginning and really making the audience feel as if they're a part of it and you're their connection to the show. And then, so having those kind of skill set made me a candidate for that kind of stuff. But then to actually get jobs in TV warm up, it's kind of a closed and close-knit community. Most of the time you have to have another warm-up guy bring you in as his backup and recommend you to producers and, kind of get your feet wet. So that's kind of what happened with me. I started backing up for a guy and I did a bunch, 30 or 40 episodes of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then one or two others here and there. And then it just kind of from there, it's, it's the whole TV production community in New York City is rather, is relatively small. So, all the producers and directors know each other, and all the crew people know each other and bounce from show to show. So when a show needs a new warm-up comic, they don't post anything on Craigslist. They just call producers of other shows and say, who's out there working, who's good, who would you recommend? And then, then you just randomly get a telephone call. So that's kind of how it happened with The Daily Show. I'd been bouncing around a little bit, getting a little experience, and then they have writers and guys on the show and producers who do stand up and who know me and know me by reputation. So when that conversation happened one day, somebody said my name, and then another guy was just like, "Oh yeah, he's great. Let's give him a try." And it was just kind of that simple. So then you come in and you do one episode, and you're told if they like you, if John Stewart likes you, you are going to be coming back more often. And if he doesn't, well, you get to tell your friends you did the Daily Show once. Fortunately, he liked me.
Well, that's good. It's John Stewart. What's he like?
He's a good guy. He's I don't know, very similar off stage as he is on. He's not one of these guys that's that it's a complete act and a forced persona, forced nice guy kind of thing. He just seems to be pretty much the same off stage as he is on.
Yeah, he's not like one of those guys that sit in his dressing room and want only green M&Ms in his dish.
He doesn't seem to be that way. I also don't want to talk like he and I are best friends or we hang out often. My interaction with him is limited to a limited capacity. But from what I have experienced of him over the years, the conversations we've had, he just seems like a nice guy and seems not to be the green M&Ms type.
Do you have any comedians that are on the circuit that you look up to or you're tight with? You like boys?
Sure. I have both. I have comedians I look up to, or guys like Dave Attell, and I always look up to him. He's an amazing writer, an amazing comedian, and Jim Gaffigan and guys like that, who I've been watching for 14, 15 years since I started in this city. And then I have a number of comics that I'm that I kind of am tight with. There's Carol Montgomery and Kevin Downey Jr. are friends, and there's a whole bunch. The list goes on and on.
It just seems like a pretty tight community. I mean,
excuse me. Yes, it is. It's it is and it isn't. You see, when you're doing the clubs in New York on a regular basis, you're seeing the same faces frequently. And so you're competing with one another, but you're collaborating with one another as well.
Right. I mean, we had some interaction with Jim Florentine, who was like the coolest guy.
Florentine's great.
Oh, what a nice guy. He invited us to that metal show's whatever that show that he does. That metal show had a Christmas party, and he invited us down. He sat with us for like 45 minutes, and he just seemed so down to earth. And then you get other guys that I don't want to name names, but some were just not. I mean, we did a show with Kyle Grooms. You know him?
Oh, sure, I know Kyle.
Yeah, and he let me actually open. The only time I did some stand-up was then. And I give you guys all the credit in the world, for sure. I don't know how you get up there every night and do that stuff. And he was amazing. I mean, he took the house down, but the other guy that night, Chips Cooney.
Oh, I love Chips Cooney.
He played on that same bill, and he seemed like he didn't want to be bothered. Like, Kyle hung out. Kyle got hammered with us. Yeah, he was just like, dude, I didn't want to go home. Can we just, and he's
Chips is like 90 years old. I mean, Chips is not a young man at all, and he's been around forever. So
I didn't know he was that young.
I love Chips Cooney. He makes me laugh. I love he did the Magician Act,
of course, and Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean that's a guy who's been around forever. Has and I can understand not wanting to hang out and do. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would say the same thing about me. You catch me on one night, and I'll hang out and smoke weed and hang out with my opening acts and party with the young comics in town is one thing. But then there's other nights where I just want to get home, or I leave early to start the drive back, stuff like that.
That makes sense.
It's not always, it's not always a floating party at some, and especially once you get to Chips's, been in and seen and done it all over the years. At some point, you get tired out by that party scene a little bit. So I would give him a pass on that, because I know he's a genuinely nice guy, and just that magician thing still cracks me up every time I see it.
Oh, it's hysterical for sure.
And I don't steal from other comics. That's verboten,
Right.
But I've told Chips Cooney that off stage, just hanging out at a diner or something like that, I have absolutely stolen some of his bits just playing around. Some of those stupid cheesy magic bits.
Oh, awesome.
Because they entertain my 4-year-old niece. I told them. I was like, I'll steal it. I'll do them for my niece. He loved that. He was totally cool with it.
The cups. I use the solo cup trick all the time.
Yeah. Or just something as stupid as with the little metal cup that has like cream or syrup in it, and he just clinks the top. It's just dumb, and it's so funny. It's so stupid that you just can't help but laugh at it.
So let's move over to you're in this quest to have Carlin Way. You got to tell us about that.
I'm no longer in the quest. The quest was successful.
All right,
Yes, but it was a 3-year campaign we did to petition New York City to name the street George Carlin grew up on after him, in his honor, and it's called George Carlin Way. And it took us 3 years. We had to stand out on the sidewalk and get people to sign our petition, and then start a social media campaign and battle a public battle with the Catholic Church, which played out. It played out all over the national media, and just wait and be patient. And finally, 3 years later, we got the sign hung, which happened we actually hung the sign in a ceremony this October. And we had a big celebratory show at Caroline's that night, which was this all-star show, which just made Time Out New York's top 10 list of the best stand-up shows of the year for 2014. It came in at number 2. So we were pretty excited about that. And if your listeners are interested and are in New York City and are Carlin fans, you can walk to 121st Street and right now it's on Morningside Avenue, but we'll have signs this spring on Morningside Avenue and one on Amsterdam Avenue. And it's 400 block, and you can go see the sign that says George Carlin Way, get your picture taken in front of it, and all that fun stuff.
Oh, that's epic! And
it's pretty cool.
4 blocks away from the Apollo.
4 blocks away from 125th Street, probably about a 15-minute walk from the Apollo.
So if you want to, don't do it at night, but if you want to do that walk, go ahead.
Yeah, I would take the 1 train to 125th Street. It's 4 blocks away from the McDonald's.
There you go. That's pretty cool, man. Now, who was on that show?
Oh my God! On the show, it was let's see, Colin Quinn hosted it. Then George's daughter Kelly just kind of spoke briefly to thank the audience, and she was kind of the hostess. So then it was his brother Patrick went up and told a couple stories and sang a couple of filthy songs, and then we got into the stand-ups. So there was Colin, there was Rick Overton, Eddie Brill, myself, Ted Alexandro, Jim Norton, Artie Lang, John Mulrooney, Dave Attell, and I know I'm forgetting somebody.
That's pretty much a pretty good list already. My God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was one of the best lists, and then one of the best lineups, definitely of the year, and we sold out Caroline's. But I mean, then Judah Friedlander, he was on there too. But then the year before, we did one at Gotham, which was a fundraiser to just to cover the costs of the campaign. And on that one, they were both like all-star tributes to George Carlin. That one had Dave Attell and Judah Friedlander and Eddie Brill and myself, and it also had Todd Barry and Nick DiPaolo and Louis Black. So that was pretty awesome that night too.
My God.
Yeah,
that'd be epic. Because let me tell you what, and a guy like George Carlin deserves something like that too. No,
I agree.
He deserves a lineup like that. He deserves his own street, in my opinion. Yeah. George Carlin is actually what got me into watching stand up. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like I always like Richard Pryor and things like that. But George Carlin, I mean, he was one of the first. But he always had his HBO specials, and obviously I was younger at that point in time, so like I would sneak up like after my parents would go to bed, and I would watch George Carlin. When I was younger, and by far he's one of the greatest comedians ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
He really is absolutely hilarious. He was a genius. You know what I mean? Like he was. His comedy was very smart. It was filthy, but it was very smart filth. I guess is the best way to put it. And I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent that you guys put that through and got it done because
it's top notch.
Thanks, amazing.
I think I agree. I mean, I'm not a person who generally does. Well, let's just say I'm not a civic-minded person. You know, you're not going to normally see me out with a petition in hand trying to save the whales or whatever, and you're not going to catch me occupying anything. And even though I agree with those people politically, you're not going to catch me occupying. You're not going to catch me generally walking in protest, stuff like that. I'm pretty lazy, so for me to do something like that that's more civic-minded, it has to be for somebody pretty damn special. And I can't tell you another comedian that I would do that for at this point. A couple months ago, when we were doing in October, when we were doing I was doing a lot of press before the sign went up, and a couple of reporters, funny enough, back in October, asked, if I were to do this again, what comic would I do it for? And back then, tells you how times change in a couple of months. I said I think it would be cool to go off to Brooklyn and to get them to name the street where the Huxtable's house is after Bill Cosby. I don't see me doing that one now. But that was the only other name 3 months ago that I could come up with that I would possibly do that for was Bill Cosby. And my God, how times change in just such a short amount of time.
I mean, what happened there? It went from pudding pops to rape.
Yeah, it was, man. That's your chickens coming home to roost, I guess.
Holy cow! It's just like it seems like it's so late in the game. Where were all these people back when it was happening?
Well, that's the thing. I guess they were just oftentimes being paid off.
Oh, come on! Can't wait till he croaks before you start jumping out?
Well, there was. Well, I think you generally don't worry about how it plays for your rapist, whether they're embarrassed or not is probably not your concern. If so, yeah. I've heard and I've read, and it's terrible. It's an awful story, and it's heartbreaking. But at some point, once you're up to about the 20th person who kind of have identical stories, and have many of them did come out back in the past and kind of get paid off or threatened or something,
I mean, there's a slew now. I mean, there's a slew of people.
There's a slew of them, and I don't know exactly what I believe. I think that he has a perversion. He has a kink. He has some sexual deviancy that he wasn't able to control. And because there's no way, he was one of the most famous people in the world for the last 50 years and rich, that there's no way he couldn't have had, virtually any woman he wanted any night. And even on an off night where his game wasn't all up or something, he could have afforded the best prostitutes in the world. So he, it seems like had some sort of a deviancy where he was turned on by unconscious women, So it's really just messed up.
I mean, I'm all for a little kinky shit now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's even if you're having, I guess, a quote unquote off night, I mean, you're Bill Cosby, so you don't even really need to be on. It's just you're just sitting there. Hey, I'm Bill Cosby.
Dude, Vern Troyer has sex tapes with models.
It's true, man.
You just have to be famous,
right?
And then rich on top of it. On top of that, it helps. But rich and famous with your own TV show and blah blah blah. Yeah, there's no challenge. It's fish in a barrel. And again, with that added insurance that if your game isn't working, you have unlimited funds. You're the Sultan of Brunei. You can
right. Flip
through the latest Playboy magazine like it's a catalog and pick out who you want to purchase for that evening.
Right.
So it's terrible. That being said, I don't believe Janice Dickinson for a half a second, but most everybody else I believe.
I would agree with that.
Right? She's just just an opportunist to get her name in the paper. That's all. Her and a couple of others who came along a little later and were just trying to cash in or just trying to get their names back in there. They're awfully crazy. Just get her awfully disfigured face back in front of the cameras.
Oh, it's awful.
That bitch
bitch is crazy.
That's true.
Yeah. I would drug her just to shut her up for a few minutes.
You're right. You're not going to dip it. You're not going to
I
slap
keep my
it.
dick in my pants. It's just not to hear her talk.
Right. It's probably
Here, drink this. Just drink this and walk away.
It's funny, as you were telling the story before about how you become, you get hired for those gigs to warm up the crowd. It reminded me of like Showgirls. You know, it's almost like you're Elizabeth Berkley and you had to push, Gina Gershon down the stairs to get the gig full time. Should that's a movie waiting to happen.
Right? That's a movie waiting to happen.
I tell you, I saw Bill Cosby live not too long ago, maybe I'd say 4 or 5 years ago. I saw him down in Atlantic City, and it was awful. And I love going to see comedians. It was awful because it went so long. It had to be for hours, and even people were like, "What the fuck is happening here?" Like he would tell a story, forget he was telling the story. And I understand he's old, but it comes to a point where like, yo, man, it's enough. Because you want to go. Like, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, you do this every night. To me, when I go and see a comedian, you want to go, you want to get hammered, you want to laugh, and you want to be in and out. And like, I want it to be like an hour and a half tops. Like one of my favorite guys to see who I don't miss is Brian Regan. I love going to see him. You're going to laugh. We're going to do some drinks. We're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sit there for 2.5 hours and hear stories about your wife farting on you and you had to wear fire retarded pants. And then it's crickets. There's like no one laughing. It's painful.
Yeah, I mean there's a sweet spot as far as how long you should be on stage. I don't, like when you headline at a club, of course clubs want to turn the room over and get another audience in, but generally when you headline a club, you're contractually obligated to do no less than 45 minutes, and generally, maybe with the late show as an exception because they don't have to turn the room over, they don't want you to go over 60. So that's kind of what we're trained is as comics and also as an audience is, a headlining spot is somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. When you got a theater and, all the time in the world and people are coming to see you and you don't have an opening act, there's guys who go and, Bill Cosby's been known to do a couple of hours, and some people dig it and some people don't. What I don't go in for is the gimmick of, where you hear like guys setting the world's record, and you don't know when you're in the audience that they were planning to do that, and you hear this stuff where like every once in a while you hear Dave Chappelle did some marathon of however many hours. It's like I applaud the tenacity to be able to stand there and filibuster for a while, but I don't.
There's only so many double makers I'm ordering during that set.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're going to drag me out of there eventually.
Right.
So before we wrap up, obviously you have Mike's telling me what's going on. You got a new album coming out. How does that work? I mean, do people buy albums or because I have friends that are musicians and they're telling me and they go into the studio, they record, and I have pals I just saw last weekend, and I had a long conversation with the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. These guys sold 4 million records.
Sure.
And now they're, my man.
Big swing band back in the day.
I was in a band. I opened for them, so now every time they're in town, we get together, and I went and saw them and I went and saw them last Saturday in the city at the Cutting Room. They were playing. Side note, you might appreciate this. I'm going there to see them, and Gunnar and Matthew Nelson opened with a tribute to Ricky Nelson. It was very bizarre.
Really?
Very bizarre.
Huh.
It was strange.
Do they still have the wicked long hair?
No. One looked like Ellen DeGeneres, and the other one looked like a guy from Aha. It was very strange.
That is strange. Yeah, that's messed up. And what a weird combination of a show to have a Ricky Nelson tribute.
Oh, it was bizarre.
Swing, right? They're still doing swing?
They did a whole 20s act. They're going to do an album, he was telling me. So they did a lot of obviously they did their hits and their originals, and they did a lot of 20s, 30s, old school swing, which was very good. He had a tux on, Steve had a tux on, but it was like we were talking backstage, and I said, what is happening out there? You got like a bunch of folks that are here to see them. Yeah. And like the majority of the crowd's dressed in like zoot suits. I mean, I had my fedora on. I was ready to cut it up. And
then a couple of 45-year-old twins singing Garden Party in Lonesome Town. It's weird.
Yeah, I was like, play Traveling Man and leave.
Yeah. Does one of them like really sound like their dad? Like had the same voice?
They were, if you're into that, yeah, they were pretty good. It was just, you can tell it's very set up because they played that behind the scenes clips between every single song, and it was like, there's only enough Ricky Nelson I could take here.
Yeah. Well, no, Ricky Nelson I can take. There's only enough Gunner and Joe Bob Nelson I can take. Yeah.
True. But anyway, they were telling me like when they go and make a record, it's different today. I mean, obviously, you have guys like me and a bunch of my friends that'll buy the vinyl just to have it, and the CD. I'd like to have that CD. I'm at that age too. I'm in my 40s where I like to have that thing to hold on to put it in the shelf, and I'll make the digital copy for iTunes. But a lot of these guys are just like, the money's in touring, man, and we don't make no money doing this. Mm-hmm. And there comes a day where the creative side of me wants to make an album. Yeah, and at the same time, I'm doing it for me, not and some of the hardcore fans, but it's a fine line for a business end and the creative end. Is that the same with comedy? I mean,
well, okay. So first of all, album is a catch-all word for what it is. I mean, it is. It's a full-length comedy album in the tradition of what they used to call party albums back in the day, which is just audio. It's just like like when George Carlin put Class Clown out, it was just audio, which I think is for a comedian is very intimate. It is if you're just listening to them because you have to engage even more with your mind. So I like that, and it's available online as in most 99% of the people who buy this are going to buy it as a download online. Sure. So it's not. And then when I'm at shows, after shows, you sell your CDs and DVDs. Well, on this one, at least at first, I'm not even going to have CDs of it. What we're going to have is you can buy a download card, which will come mounted on a 5x7 postcard with the album cover. So for a collector or whatever, it's basically like a CD cover kind of thing where you'll get the artwork and you'll get the back, the track listings, and it's something that I can autograph and it's something you can carry with you. But instead of pulling a disc out, you're pulling out a network. A download card with a code on it that gets you your album. Because most people this day and age, when they get the CD, they just get the CD, burn it onto their computer, and that's the last they use of the CD either. So this is kind of an experiment because the download cards are they cost less to produce than a CD, and they travel better than a CD. So
yeah, that's funny you should say that. I have friends that are in a band down in Florida, and that's what they do. And when I just saw that recently, I was down on the KISS cruise. Yeah. And these guys always, I throw a big party down there where I'm old, man. We had like LA Guns play the party, and we do a big thing for charity. Faster Pussycat, Great White. Just no pyrotechnic for Great White.
Oh my God, those poor guys.
Yeah, but they were great. But we have a band called Number 13s, and they were on their tables the same thing. They had the card, and I'm asking them, I'm like, "What is this?" And they said, "No, man, this is the way to do it because people like to download the shit, and this gives you a code. You can go and download it, and it's all good."
Yeah, and I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm going to do it for my first album too. I've got download cards now, and I'll. Once I've finished off this last batch of printed discs, it's going to be just that, and it's going to be, so much simpler for traveling. When you fly to a gig, I don't have to worry about shipping stuff to myself or carrying another bag with all my CDs and DVDs. They just they fit into a little box that'll just go into my luggage. It's so much simpler for that. And like I said, people don't seem to be bothered. They don't listen to a disc more than once. They take the content off of it. So why go to the trouble? The disc and all that stuff costs about triple what a download card costs to produce. So I'm excited about it. And then down the road we'll see. I think maybe after a couple of months. I may take some of the money from this album and reinvest it and actually do a limited run of vinyl and put those out available maybe on my website or something like that. I think would be kind of cool because it is like an old school party album, so it should be out on vinyl. But as of right now, it's a comedy album that's available in download form only.
Is it? And where can folks and our friends and pals and people that listen to us get that? Is that on iTunes only? Is it at?
It's called the Unintentionally White Album, and you can find it on iTunes and Amazon and wherever fine hosiery is sold, basically on the internet. It's everywhere. But the easiest thing for people is just go to kevinbartini.com, and you can find links to it there. You can find links to my Twitter and my Facebook, my podcast, everything. I find that one-stop shop a lot easier than telling you to go here for one thing and there for another. Just remember kevinbartini.com, and then you can follow whatever link you need.
There you go. Check that stuff out. Real quick, before we let you go.
Okay.
Before I let you go, what's your favorite restaurant in New York? What place should I check out that I haven't checked out yet?
My favorite restaurant in New York used to be a Malaysian place called Penang, which is gone now. That was on 72nd Street, and that was amazing. There is a restaurant. Actually, it's very close to George Carlin Way, so you can come up, see the sign, and go to this restaurant. It's a little Italian restaurant, and it's called Max Soha. Right, Jess? Max Soha is the restaurant we like? Yeah, that's my wife just confirming to me that's the name of it. Max Soha, Soha meaning south of Harlem. And it's on, I think it's on Broadway and about 122nd Street, something like that. It's this little amazing Italian restaurant that has amazing food. It only has about 8 or 10 tables. It's very small. It's awesome food. It's got to be my favorite currently in New York, Max Soha.
Oh, I'm going to have to get all my New York pals and check it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Max Soha.
Definitely check it out. And it's like a 2 or 3 minute walk from George Carlin Way. It's right there.
We could kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
You got any gigs coming up?
Yeah. A lot of just random spots around the city, popping in at clubs and more at little bars and little back rooms and out of the way stuff because new album's out. That means I'm back to the drawing board and trying to come up with new material and stuff. So if you go see me in the city right now, especially in the bars and the open mics, you're going to see me just kind of struggling and throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. But I'm heading out on the road, and I've got next week. I'm out in Pennsylvania doing some fundraisers for the YMCA, and then I'm off to. I just did some casino in Delaware, and then I'm off to do a bunch of different road rooms. I'm not sure. Again, kevinbartini.com would have the calendar, and I try to keep that updated, and I try to also announce when I'm going somewhere on Twitter. So, but over the course of this year, I plan to be touring quite a bit and more stretching out further away from the Northeast and going all over the country as much as possible.
Oh, very cool. I'd like to get Mike and a bunch of our pals all to come out and see you one night all together, like a big group.
Sure. You guys should definitely come out. There's going to be some, let me know. There's going to be some cool things coming up. I know if you want to wait, I think in April, I'm going to be doing a special event headlining at Caroline's, which is being filmed for a documentary. So we'll be working to fill the room on that one. But that won't be till April.
I'd be in for that. My birthday. We can go have a birthday celebration, Mike.
Oh, you know what? In the meantime, you know what's a good one? We haven't announced. We won't be announcing this officially till Monday, but I'm helping to produce a show on Tuesday, February 11th at 9 o'clock. It's at the Broadway Comedy Club, and it's going to be an all-star benefit show, and it's to support a fellow comic. This is a terrible story. He's a young comic hosting an open mic in Seattle about 2 weeks ago, and he's just on stage at like a restaurant place that's running an open mic, and a dude comes in, goes up on stage, and bashes his head in with a baseball bat.
What?
Yeah, the poor guy was almost killed. He's got he had to have 2 plates put into his head. He was put into intensive care. He's out of the hospital now. He's actually going tonight, as we record this on Saturday, the 17th. He is doing his first spot back since this happened. This happened like literally 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
So we're doing a benefit here in New York with a bunch of comics. And I can't give you the lineup just yet because we won't be announcing it till Monday. But since I'm producing it, I will be going to give you an idea to the same well of guys who I went to when I, to do the Carlin fundraisers. So we're going to get some real big names. We're going to just put on a show. Broadway is donating the house and all the comics are donating their time, and we're just trying to raise whatever money we can for this, for this poor guy, for his hospital bills. He's got 3 little kids. It's just,
oh man,
it's a terrible story, and a lot of us, like I've since met him, not in person, but been in contact with him, and I told him, like, we all, whatever level you're at, we all started out at the same place. We all started out doing these open mics and stuff and hosting them, and when you're in that world, you do have to deal with a lot of times with people who are absolutely crazy, who just think, they think they can do stand-up, or it's an open mic and they do whatever, and who are legitimately insane. Like this guy was some sort of, obviously
savage,
he's schizophrenic or whatever mentally imbalanced that he was caused him to do this. But, you have to deal with a lot of weirdos, and it could get dangerous. And it's kind of there, but by the grace of God go I, that it happened to this guy, and it could have just as easily happened to me 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I was doing those shows.
Sure.
So I just kind of put up a post one day a week or two ago when we saw the news story, and just said, would any other comics in New York be interested in doing a fundraiser or something? And right away guys were like, yeah, let's do it. So made a couple of calls, and that's the next one in New York City that is of note that you'll be able to see me on. And again, that's February 10th at Broadway, or February 11th, that Tuesday at Broadway Comedy Club.
Yeah, I think I'm in for that. Once I see that announced, I'll see if I can get some tickets.
Yeah. You're are we Facebook buddies at this point?
I think I like the page.
Okay, cool. Well, it'll be up on the like page too, and on my Twitter and stuff. And we're getting we'll be announcing the show officially on Monday, so you'll get all the ticket information. Will be up, and will also be available on kevinbartini.com.
All right, cool, man. Check that out. Go to his website, kevinbartini.com. That's where all the stuff we've been talking about today, all his Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Buy the album there, or go to iTunes. All the info is on there.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all there.
Listen, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on, spending the afternoon here on a Saturday with us.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate the chance to talk to you and to hopefully promote the album a little bit. So thank you guys for availing yourselves and your podcast to me. I appreciate it a lot.
No, it's a good time. I'm looking forward to coming out. We'll see you. Hopefully I'll see you on the 11th.
I hope so. Yeah, be sure to come up and introduce yourself for sure.
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Take care of yourselves.
All right. Kevin Bartini.
Yes. Good guy.
Yeah, good guy for sure. I'm going to go to that show.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, on a Tuesday in February, I cannot.
No, but I can walk there from work.
Right. But the show in April, that sounds like a trip. I mean, especially if it's like a Saturday. I can see if the wife wants to go down. We can set it up. It'd be fun.
All day.
I'm sure that he would. I'm sure that he would be pretty generous with us and get us good seats too. I would assume. I would hope.
Yeah, you're the schmoozer. I'll let you handle that.
Yeah.
You have a way of all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're on stage. Yeah, you're a trip. We're getting like, open bar and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a cool cat.
Yeah, no, very cool. He was a very nice guy. He was very talkative, which is good. I just don't like the, a lot of people when you get interviewed, it's just repetitive answers, right? It's just like one sentence answers all the time. He was great.
Like Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm tired of that shit too.
You tired of him, huh?
Well, no. I'm never tired of beast mode. I'll never get tired of watching him run the ball.
He's just tired of his nonsense.
Yeah, he just needs to just get over himself, and he signed a contract. He needs to fulfill it.
I agree. All right, so let's wrap this up. This special edition, making up. I'm not even. Should I number it? Episode 19 or no?
Oh yeah, just okay. Episode 19. Kevin Bartini. We're good to go.
Episode 19. Thanks again, Kevin Bartini. Check him out. KevinBartini. It's like Martini with a B.
Yes, KevinBartini.com, and be sure to buy his new comedy album, the Unintentionally White Album, and it's only $10. You know what I mean? It's an hour of wages for some people, and that's it.
You guys can afford $10
for sure.
For Christ's sake, support this guy, and let's see if we can support the. I'm going to look up the comedian who walks into a club and starts hitting a guy in the face with a bat.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
It's terrible.
We got to look at that story. That might be a story for episode 20.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
So anyway, thanks again, Kevin Bartini. Until next week, I'm Mike W.
I'm Mike T.
And we'll see you on the downside, bitches.